What is it about epic gun battles, explosions, and of course, awesome action sequences that gets the heart pumping? Well, our next guest is an expert armourer who's here to tell us how we can safely create an action sequence in your next flick. Let's go speak with Paul Norton. Well, thanks, Paul. Welcome to the show. Now, when it comes to your list of qualifications, they're quite long. So how did you actually first get involved in this side of the industry?
So there was a long route before Armoury. I started getting involved in visual effects, then special effects. Then I started making some short action films and we needed guns. So I started off using non-firing imitations and that wasn't quite enough. Okay. So I ended up getting an armourer's licence too. Once I did, one of the other three armourers retired and then sort of a slot opened up and I've been doing quite a lot ever since.
At what stage does the armourer actually get involved? Is it during the pre-production side of things or actually during the production itself? And why is it necessary to have an armourer on board?
Yeah, okay. Well, pre-production is where I usually get involved with any significant films because there are considerations about the type of firearm a particular character might have access to, and there are also considerations of period, you know, what era the film's set in. So I have to make sure that the firearms are authentic. From that point there, my role is to sort of supervise the safe use of the firearms on set, make sure that people are trained appropriately, and throughout the whole course of firing that the guns are used safely. So
when you're actually on set itself, the role which you play, the training which is required for the actual actors themselves, that's all pre or is that on set?
It depends on the nature of the production. If there are a lot of people who need some autonomy with the firearms because they're running around them, we need to schedule some time before the day. But if it's just one person firing one shot, then we can often do the training on set. Okay.
So with the actual actors themselves, what kind of training do they need essentially? Do they have to, when it comes to kind of like if it's on set with them, does it have to be a lot of like, right, this is knowing all the parts of the arm, like the guns, the weapons?
No, not at all. I mean, it's more about the procedures because we have very strict handling procedures about, you know, how to handle them before they call action, during the course of the scene, and then when they call cut, there's also a procedure. It doesn't stop when they call cut because then I have to come up and clear the guns and stuff. So the last thing you want is the actor to sort of relax and start waving the guns around. You know, it's like no. So you know, so yes, they have to understand how to handle them safely and basically how they work. But there's a lot of procedures involved to make sure that there are no accidents.
Okay, so. Speaking of the procedures themselves, what kind of weapon laws or firearm laws have to pertain to the film industry?
Okay, I think the most important one is that the only person who's allowed to bring a firearm onto a film set is a licensed armourer. And just because somebody has a friend who's got a .22 or a shotgun in his cupboard, that it would be illegal to bring that onto a film set. All firearm licences are issued for a specific reason, and the armourer is the only one who can bring them on set. And as I mentioned before, there are only a couple of us operating in the industry now. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So speaking of that, how can we find out more information about getting in contact with armourers, or what can the creative team do to find those procedures beforehand?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, your armourer will be able to advise. So once you select an armourer, the armourer will tell you about the procedures. And there are once a brief is received, you know, we'll respond with requirements for training depending on, like we will read the script, we'll break down the script, and then we'll give our advice then. Plus there are procedures for police notifications and also clearing the actors to make sure they're not prohibited people. So there are a few things to navigate, and your armourer is the person who works with you through that.
Wow, okay, there's a lot to take on board for that kind of, you can't just have a little gun sequence, go, let's go do it.
No, but the good thing is, you know, we're here to help. So you just ring up and we'll guide you through it. It's actually not that hard, and you know, it's like we sort of consider ourselves, I consider myself like, you know, like another collaborator in the process, and so it's my job to help navigate the producer and the director through this process. So.
Great. One of the most common questions we get asked is about the more kind of cost-effective way of going about when you're actually in production. Let's say we have an indie filmmaker who perhaps has a low budget to no budget way of getting their production done. Is it more cost-effective to actually get the shots done in camera, Or is it better to try and do it in post-production, like with green screen or using After Effects or things like that?
Yeah, it depends entirely what you're doing. One of the films I made, we blew up a helicopter. Probably couldn't have afforded to do that for real.
Yeah.
But conversely, when it comes to gunfights in particular, the compositing is very complicated because you've got muzzle flashes, smoke, reflected light, flying bullet shells. And it takes a lot of time. It's cheaper, especially if there's a few shots fired. It's much cheaper to get an armourer out on site.
Okay.
And plus, the other benefit of having the armourer on site, of course, is gunfire is very visceral. So it really helps the actors with their performance as well.
So in your experience so far, what's been your favourite special effect or favourite moment you've had on set?
I'm always fond of blowing up cars. I don't know why.
Something which I just like to do, you know.
Yeah. And I do like a good gun battle when stuff, there's stuff flying everywhere. That's always kind of fun. But, stuff, make-believe stuff that, real cowboys and Indians sort of stuff, cops and robbers, stuff that's make-believe.
Yeah.
I did one shoot last year, which was a reenactment of a real-life murder, and it was pretty brutal. And that's a bit hard for me. I don't enjoy that sort of work. I enjoy the make-believe much more.
Absolutely, kind of a bit more exciting and not so kind of like touching the heart too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great meeting with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So blow some things up.